Okay, so here's a great business lesson that I learned today after giving a free talk to a group. So I explained in yesterday's video that today I was talking to a group of food writers. If you don't know, part of what I do in my work in coaching others how to write is I am actually a practicing writer myself. So I do a lot of food articles, and I found a group that's actually called the Mastermind for Food Writers on Substack. And a couple of months ago, they were stated that they were looking for people to be able to talk about whatever it is that they could offer to a group. Excuse me. And I volunteered to do a talk on basically pitching magazines or using your Substack newsletter as sort of like your portfolio to be able to pitch magazines if it's your first time doing it. So I wanted to offer a few lessons that I learned today from doing this talk earlier this morning. Um, so the first thing that I learned, the first lesson, um, is to build connections before you actually need them. One of the things that I have learned, I've been a freelance writer since like 2015, so it's like 11 years now. Um, you need to be able to build relationships before you need them. Um, and one of the things that I learned in the earlier days of doing in my business was I did a lot of work by myself. I worked a lot in silos. I worked alone um, for a lot of reasons. Mostly because where I was, there wasn't just a lot of people like back. It's not that it was terribly long ago, but 11 years ago, living in that area of Florida that I was in, there really wasn't a whole lot of people who had their own full-time business as a writer as of yet. And so I just sort of learned how to be able to stick to my own paper, so to speak, and sort of build my writing business that way by myself. It would just be me, my computer, my email inbox, just sending out pitches to different, not back then, not to magazines, but to different businesses, small businesses, and larger corporations to be able to find work. And so what I'm doing in this season of my business is I don't want to have to go on having to do this by myself. Um, in order for me to move up to the next level of the business that I want to be able to create, I have to do different things. And so that includes being able to reach out to people, um, who know me and know my work and the gifts that I bring to the table. And so I volunteered to do this particular talk, not necessarily because I was trying to sell tickets to um, because I was trying to sell tickets or seats in my next course, but just to be able to connect with people who are of like mind, people who love food and food writing in particular. And they were just looking for some people who could come in and offer something without necessarily looking for something in return. And when you are in connection with people who have that kind of a spirit, there's only good things that can come back to you because of it. Every benefit that you get from your business isn't always going to be monetary. And so you may not get back what you've offered today, this month, next month, or maybe even this year. But eventually, when people see that you're able to give with an open heart, that you are willing to give with an open heart, and that you are knowledgeable about what it is that you say that you're able to share, people are going to be able to help you in ways that you may not even know. Um, there might be some people in there who might be able to introduce me to people who could help me at the next level of my business. Someone could be able to just send. It could be just as simple as sending a basic email out to someone that could help me to be able to find my next to help me to find my next opportunity. So you just never know. So build connections before you need them. That's probably the first and maybe even the biggest lesson that I learned through this process. Being solo, my next lesson, being solo doesn't mean that you have to live as an isolated person. So when you work for yourself, as I was saying, it's easy to confuse independence with isolation. And I realized how much of my career had been built alone. And so without many touch points where people could actually experience how I think or how I teach. And that matters, especially if you want long-term opportunities and not just one-off wins. One of the things that actually has blocked my business growth is the fact that I would do something for a company and I would do sometimes just a one-off project. Or they would have you come back and I would be able to write a blog post or an ebook or maybe even a white paper. You do it once, but I wasn't making enough of an impact with building connections with other people up the command chain, if that makes sense. So I was just satisfied with sitting down and just sort of being quiet and fulfilling the roles and the responsibilities of fulfilling the need for getting that particular project done. But I wasn't voicing my interest in saying, hey, I can do bigger projects. Perhaps we can turn this particular paper into a white paper into other projects, like a series of blog posts or something, so that it would be more money for me. And that requires, in order for you to be able to get those opportunities, it often requires that you work in groups of people, and you've got to sort of, I don't want to say force your way in there, but you have to be vocal about what it is that you want. Otherwise, people are just going to assume that you're just fine being the freelance writer in the back, who simply just writes the things. You fulfill the needs of whatever needs to be written, and then you move on. But that doesn't work at this level of my business anymore. Lesson number 3, practice being in rooms before you decide if you belong or not. Another big takeaway for me was sometimes that we decide that we don't belong in certain rooms before we've ever tested that assumption. And so giving this talk really reminded me that clarity often comes after exposure, and you don't always need to think your way into confidence. You need real world data. So what all of that mumbo jumbo means is that there have been times when I may have seen an opportunity and I second guess whether or not that opportunity is for me. I second guess, even if they're just totally asking for volunteers. I second guess whether or not what I have to offer is good enough to be able to share with this particular group. And what I've learned here is that if you see an opportunity and if it jumps out at you of something that is something of interest, go ahead and put your name in the hat, so to speak. It doesn't hurt anything. In this case, I literally had just joined the group on Substack, the Mastermind for Food Writers. I literally joined them, I think in maybe late November, early December, and maybe the first or second week of messages that I received were them asking for volunteers. I didn't know anything about this group. I just joined it, fresh in the group, had never really been to a community meeting as of yet. And so, I just went ahead and put my name in to be able to share, and it worked out for the best. So rather than sit and say that you don't, that you're mulling over whether or not you actually belong in this space. If you see an opportunity, go ahead and put yourself in there. Don't hesitate. And the last lesson, I think, is relevant to my folks who are writing books and you want to be able to practice your message. So one of the most valuable parts of this experience was getting to practice sharing my ideas out loud to a group. A lot of writers want to be able to pour months or even years into writing a book before they've ever even tested what it is that they have to say. And they don't know whether or not their message actually resonates with people. So what does that mean? In short, it means talks can be a powerful way to be able to hear your own thinking, to refine your language, and to notice what parts of your message land and what things perhaps need to be revised or even be taken out altogether. Before you commit to a big project like a book, you want to be able to know for sure that what it is that you are saying actually makes sense. This is also why I teach pitching magazines, because a lot of people want to be able to they're sort of tunnel vision. They have a tunnel vision in their mindset, and they just know that they're going to write this great book, and NPR is going to pick them up, or Good Morning America, and you've never even done a local podcast to be able to share what your message is. And that's not to make you think small, but it is to help make you think practically about what it is that you're sharing. So get into those rooms where you can do a free talk. Do things like writing for magazines or creating your own Substack. Getting on social media and sharing ideas that you have about this big idea, and chop it down into smaller pieces and see how it's resonating with the audience that you say you want to be able to connect to. This helps you learn more about the audience that you want to be able to connect to. It helps you to learn more about how it is that people are vibing, so to speak, with your messaging. Does it move them to buy things, or are people just are they just sort of saying in the background, yeah, that's nice, but we've heard 100 other people, 100 other speakers, 100 other writers say the same thing. Really trying to figure out what it is that's so special about what it is that you came here to say. And that takes time to be able to figure out, so your writing and your message always doesn't have to start on paper, with pen and paper, your journal, or wherever. Sometimes it actually starts in conversation. And so I'm glad that I was able to share my message today with a group of food writers. And so I thank the good people at I think there's a couple of founders, but the one that I've been communicating with her name is Rebecca Blackwell, for a mastermind for food writers on Substack. So thank you for having me there today. So yes, as always, if you're new to me, I didn't even bother to explain who I am and why it is that I'm even doing this. My name is Helana Black. I am a writer. I've been a writer for the last 10 years. And as a writer, I've worked in a number of spaces. Food writing is one of them, but I've also written about tech, health and well-being, food, travel, and well-being is one of the things that I like to write about. And I'm also a coach, so I coach other people in learning how to be able to write for magazines as well as write books. I've been a traveler. I've taken my writing business with me, traveling since 2018, and have lived in 10 countries since I left the United States, my home country. Excuse me. The United States, my home country, and I've taken my writing business with me. And so I help women writers in particular to be able to find the type of freedom that they want to be able to have in their business, to be able to create a level of freedom in their business that they may not be able to create in a regular 9-to-5 job. I like to be able to live as an example of the thing that I tell people that they can create for themselves. So if traveling the world is what your freedom looks like, I can tell you all about it. If your freedom looks like, taking your summers off to go travel with your kids when they're out of school, you can do that. The woman who runs the mastermind that I was speaking with, Rebecca, she actually lives in an RV with her husband. I believe she has a family with children as well. And so they travel all around the United States in their RV, which I think is so cool. I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to travel actually to Alaska in an RV. So maybe I'll have an opportunity to talk to her about her experience doing that. And yeah, so you see today I came to the video with my hair under wraps. I put on my headscarf. It's not a headscarf. I usually wear it wrapped around my shoulders, but today I'm deciding to put this over my head, and I put on my Mexican abuela wrap. I love this. I love this color. It's a pink and orange. I don't know what type of pink this is. Is this a chartreuse? With purple and pink and orange and red. And I love it. And these are also my earrings that I bought here in Mexico. I think the store is called Wayan, Wayan. It's a rather popular store here in Playa del Carmen where I live. And I believe they have other places in Mexico, but you can probably go online. I never really buy any clothes from there. It's a clothing store for the most part, but I really like their jewelry section, their jewelry, and they have a few bag selections. It's a small selection, but I really like what they have. And then of course, I'm trying to learn how to pay attention to what looks nice on me and what does not. And so I really like how these colors look with this particular pair of eyeglasses. I only have one pair of eyeglasses that I can actually wear and see out of right now. And so I like how this particular set of eyeglasses are looking for me. But what I would actually like, if I can get like this again with like more of a cat eye, not exaggerated cat eye, but I used to have another pair of a light pink color that I bought when I was in Rwanda, and they had more of a cat eye at the top, but I would also want it to be more of a straight edge on the bottom. I think because I have, such a round face, I want to be able to sort of cut the roundness off on my face. And so I think more of a straight edge on the bottom of the lens would look nice on me. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. Thank you for hanging out. Please like the video, click like, share with your writer friends, as well as click the subscribe button if you want to be able to get an update to, updates. I try to do as many videos as I can. I'll tell you my goal. we're still in quarter one of 2026. My goal is to complete 90 of these videos, just to be able to learn, to see who's hanging out, who's not hanging out, how many, watch hours. I would really love to be able to get to a point where I can be monetized. I'm close to the number of subscribers. I think right now you need at least 1,000 subscribers, and I'm somewhere in the high 800s. So hopefully by the end of this 90-day cycle, I will have crossed the 1,000 subscriber count. So please, if you like this, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave me a comment, tell me where you're from, where you're watching this from. I know I've got folks in the States, of course, who are watching this, but I've also got viewers from my time in living in Rwanda who are watching. If you are a Black woman in business, a Black woman writer, I would love to be able to connect with you. Just say hello, let me know that you're watching and that we are out here doing this together. So I wanted to do the 90 videos so that at the end of this season, I can sort of figure out what went well, what didn't, and then into, we'll start this again in quarter number 2 with improving, the quality of the video content that I want to be able to create. Oh, and also in the description box, I have a freebie for you. It's called 5 Successful Magazine Pitches. 5 Successful Magazine Pitches. You just click on the link, put in your name and your email address, and you'll be able to get that to your email box. And really what it is exactly what it's called. It's 5 Successful Magazine Pitches. And I give you what my pitches look like, as well as a link to the actual printed, or not the printed, but the actual published version of that particular article. Just because I think it's good, it's nice to be able to say, well, these pitches were accepted, but it's only useful if you can actually see what the actual published work actually looks like. So I'm Helana Black. I will see you tomorrow. Have an awesome day.